So it's saying it's being live streamed. Is that what it's supposed to do?
Yeah, it's loading. I just want to make sure it loads before we begin. Okay. Okay, we're live.
All right. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. The time is now 6:31, and I would like to call the 11:22. Live stream. Is that what it's supposed to do?
Yeah.
Was that supposed to happen? Echoing back. All right. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Time is now. Should I keep going?
Yeah. Is it still echoing on your side?
Not now.
Okay, go ahead. I think I just had it on both sides. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
All right. So we had a little technical difficulties, but that is fine. We're going to keep going forward. I am going to bring our meeting to order. It is now 6:32, and I'd like to call the November 22nd, 2021 meeting of the Revitalize Charter School Board to order. And so we'll begin with our secretary calling the roll.
Hi, good evening. This is Annie Deaver, the Secretary of Revitalize Charter School Board, and we would just like to go round robin very quickly, if everyone could introduce themselves. I'll start with myself, if that's okay. My name is Annie Deaver, and I'm the Secretary of the Board.
And my name is Ansel Cassidy. I am the founder.
Morgan Camus, I'm the Vice Chair.
Good evening. This is Kimberly Harris. I am a board member.
And I'm Paul Bryant. I am the treasurer.
And Dr. Church Williams, I am the chairperson. All right. So, Madam Secretary, do we have a quorum?
Yes, we do have a quorum.
Perfect. So now we're going to move on through our agenda items. Our first item up is a reading of the minute from our previous meeting.
Thank you, Madam Chair Lady. Our last meeting of Revitalize Charter School Board met October 28, 2021. The meeting was virtual. All board members were in attendance, no board members absent, no others present. The agenda items for that evening were as follows: approval of meeting minutes led by our chair, Dr. Valencia Church Williams, mission statement led by Dr. Morgan Camus. Next steps after recommendation for approval was by our chair lady, Dr. Valencia Church Williams. RTO tasks review for subcommittees was led by Ansel Sakaris. Community outreach updates were led by Dr. Morgan Camus, and National Lunch Program process review and application steps were also reviewed by all board members. The meeting was called to order by our chair lady at 6:30 p.m. on said date, October 28th, 2021. As stated previously, the meeting was virtual. Roll call was taken. The roll call was conducted by the Secretary of the Board, Annie Deaver. The following persons were present, all previous board members. The meetings were approved from the previous meeting. The Secretary, Annie Deaver, read the minutes from the last meetings, and the minutes were approved by all board members. Our open issues for that evening were as follows. Dr. Valencia Church Williams led a debrief of CSAB round 2 interviews. Next steps were delegated to the board. Ansel led discussion on RTO tasks, epicenter access, and board shared folders to ensure the board's access to these documents. Subcommittees was supposed to meet as they did to discuss specific tasks before the next board meeting. Dr. Morgan Camus reported updates on community outreach, and the board discussed events. Discussed groups to reach out to and next steps for the subcommittees. New business as follows. Ansel Caceres led discussion and reporting on the process of the National Lunch Program and next steps. The board advised on the interest form and what is required to be sent to Jacqueline McGowan. Adjournment took place and was led by our church by Valencia Church Williams, our chair lady, at 7:45 p.m. The minutes were submitted by myself, the secretary, Annie Deaver. The minutes were approved by our chairperson, Dr. Valencia Church Williams, and Dr. Morgan Camus. Conclusion and next steps were as follows. Agenda for the November board meeting will be posted to social media and website 1 week before the next meeting. All board members will review the agenda prior to the meeting and submit, and subcommittees will meet twice over the next month to continue efforts towards community outreach. And that is all for the review. And I'm going to turn it back over to our board chair, Dr. Valencia Church Williams. Nothing further.
Right? I'd like to make a motion that our minutes from the previous meeting be approved as read.
I'd second that motion.
Wonderful. The motion has been approved and seconded. We're going to move on to our next agenda item. All right. Now we're going
You want to do it all in favor and any abstaining from that first?
let's do that. So, all in favor? We'll start with you, Dr. Bryant. Thank you for the reminder. It's been a while since I did Robert's rules.
No problem. Yes, I concur.
Ms. Deaver, I know you read them. You have to vote.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair Lady, what was that?
Even though you read the minutes, you have to vote to approve them.
Approved, yay.
Dr. Harris,
I approve as well. I vote to approve.
Ms. Caceres.
I approve.
Did I pronounce it correctly?
Yes.
All right. So now it has been motion,
Um,
seconded, and approved.
Did you
Dr.
get?
Oh,
Dr.
wait.
Camus.
Yeah, Dr. Campbell.
I'm sorry, Dr. Campbell. You
I
can't hear me. Okay, there you go.
approve. I approve. Yay.
Now can I go?
Yeah, you can go.
Thank you. It has been moved, seconded, voted, approved, stamped, colored, and all of that wonderful stuff. Now we're going to move on to our next agenda item. We're going to have the reading of our mission statement. I'm super excited about this part. So, Ms. Caceres, take it away.
Okay, good evening. Our mission at Revitalize Charter School is to cultivate critical thinkers and innovators from historically underserved populations who are empowered to initiate positive change in the world throughout their youth and into adulthood.
Yay. That's why we're here. That's the whole point. All right. So next thing, we're going to have a governance strengthening activity by where we're going to introduce ourselves and talk about our roles on the board briefly. And we will start with our founder and executive director, Ms. Ansel Caceres.
Good evening. My name is Ansel Cáceres. I am the founder and currently serving on the board until we are open next year with our children. And so when we open, I will be the executive director as well as head of school. Feel free to reach out to me directly at revitalizecharter@gmail.com or follow us at facebook.com/revitalizecharter. And check out our website at revitalizecharter.org. I can respond to you directly and we can set up a time to discuss what you're looking for in a quality school for your child.
Thank you very much. I think that makes me next on the list. And I am Dr. Valencia Church Williams, also known as a terrible purveyor of Robert's Rules of Order, but I will get better as the year goes by. My main responsibility, other than butchering Robert's Rule, is to conduct an orderly board meeting. All special meetings are required, appoint committees, serve as a member of those committees, ex officio, and assume any other duties as authorized by the board and the governing document. I also serve as a point of contact for the community as well as other board members for issues, help set goals and objectives for the board and ensure that they get met, and just ensure that everyone is involved in the committee activities. So that is me. and Dr. Morgan Camus, you are next up.
Good evening, everybody. Dr. Morgan Camus. I'm the vice chair of Revitalize Charter School, and I am a poor man's Wendy for Dr. Valencia Church Williams. So at any point, if she can no longer execute all of those duties, and the same for our executive director, Ansel, I'm happy to step in. Right now, a lot of my work has been working with the RTO checklist and also doing some student recruitment. So excited to be a board member. It's been a pleasure working with the team, and in this leadership position, just happy to chip in and help where I can. And I will pass it along to who's behind me. Annie Deaver.
Hi, thank you for the introduction. My name is Annie Deaver. I am the secretary, proudly the secretary of the board for Revitalize Charter School. And part of my role outside of, making sure that I keep us tightly aligned with our agenda items and circulating communications to other board members, and to also help with some policy and procedural writing, which is, of course, in my wheelhouse, being secretary of this board. And more than anything is to handle communications and to provide support to board members in any other capacity. So that's how I see my role here. So thank you. So I will pass it along next to Dr. Kimberly Harris.
Good evening, and I am Dr. Kimberly Harris, and I am a board member with Revitalize Charter. And my role, definitely, just like all board members, is to represent our stakeholders in our expansive service areas. And I bring my background with workforce development and economic research, and learning and behavior in STEM career spaces to this board, to this esteemed board, and just leaning all in to service our communities and to help deliver high quality education and complementary services that will ensure that we are facilitating the development of the next generation of leaders and thinkers. And I'll turn it over to Dr. Bryant.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I am Paul Bryant, and I'm here as the board treasurer. And as it says, certainly be reviewing, taking a look at the fiduciary responsibilities for the board in terms of the policies that govern the finances and ensuring that we are staying within the confines of state or regulations, as well as any local regulations that we come up for ourselves to keep the school in good standing when it comes down to the finances and the fiduciary budgets. And we look forward to it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone, for those lovely introductions. Now we're going to move on to our next agenda item. It is our community outreach report. It's going to come from our distinguished founder, Ms. Ant.
Thank you, Dr. Church. Okay, so last meeting, we discussed a bit about what our community outreach would look like in this next month. We decided to create an interest form for families. And so that is up and running both on our website and as a direct link onto the interest form from our social media site. We did a boosted post, which is a paid for marketing campaign with Facebook. And so I'm not sure if everyone is familiar with that, but what that allows you to do from our side is create a curated audience based on where they live, based on their age, based on keywords that families might be searching or reading about, and it'll show them our ads, right? And so from the ad allows them to directly click into our interest form. And so it's not just taking them to our Facebook page, although they can click on that as well, but they also will directly go to our interest form. It's short. They just really need to put in their name, their child's name, the grade that they're going into, and some contact information. And so I have been working on trying to increase that number. We have set a goal of 350 interest forms. We're trying to have more interest forms than seats, right? We'll have our application open in the very beginning of January. And so we want to be able to directly contact these families when our application window opens. We've also updated our website. Through our Facebook page, I think that's the place where we've been having, I've noticed that there's a lot of engagement, especially directly through Messenger. And so I've had, the privilege of just talking to many families and answering a lot of questions that they have. And just, speaking to them about our model and kind of getting them to share the message and our posts as well. And so we've had a few shares this month as well from families who are just really interested and are on board. And so the goal is just, increasing the number of people on our interest forums and just kind of spreading the word. I know a few of you shared it on your own social media pages and LinkedIn's, and so that was helpful. I think moving forward, it would be helpful to do a lot of more in-person outreach. And so I'm just identifying all the different community events through like partnerships that we've created through the community and just other people that we know. So we can really just get out there and speak to families directly about our school.
Thank you for that. Do we need to vote to accept that report?
Dr. Bryant.
Yeah, he's our resident expert.
Say that again.
We need to vote to accept the report.
You can vote to accept any report that has to do with additional policies or something like that that may come up, or something that has to be a decision maker. So you don't have to accept every report unless it's action oriented, in other words.
Okay. Well, from what I heard, we don't have any changes. Everything was as it was. And so we will move on to our next agenda item. So our next item would be our RTO, or ready to open task approval. And so we will need to have a little discussion about the readiness of our task for our December 3rd date. So we can have a motion. We've already listed those items, I believe previously, what we needed to vote on to approve. Did we all share those documents and read over those?
I can read the tasks. Do we need to individually vote per task?
We don't have to if it is a something that you're entertaining as a group of consensus items. Consensus items means we all pretty much agree. We've read it because it's been presented to us, and so we don't have to read it again. We can just go down the list of what's in there, and then through consensus items, we can vote for all of those things in that consensus item area.
Okay, so why don't I go ahead and read those RTO tasks that are due December 3rd, and then we can move forward with a vote. Okay. Okay, so part of governance, we needed to put up our board meetings from August 2021 to November 2021. It required evidence and understanding of open meeting laws and use of best practices of Robert's Rules of Order. We also the board formally needs to adopt a school calendar representing the academic year that meets the requirements specified in charter school law. We need to adopt our board bylaws, our eval tools, and that's the eval tools for both the school's executive and the governing board. It requires a letter of assurance that this requirement has been met, or the actual uploading of the tools. There is a list, and this came with a template on Epicenter to list out the board members and their contact information. Testing and accountability coordinator job description, develop a draft of the testing calendar, the policy in place regarding student enrollment in end of course classes, the official employee agreement. We needed to provide an exemplar for that. School safety policies, instructional programming. For this one, we just needed 2, which was the structure of the school calendar and structure length of the school day. Operations, we needed 5 policies for operations. So the criminal background checks for staff, criminal background checks for volunteers, admissions, lottery, and records retention. Governance, there are 9 policies, board committees, conflict of interest, nepotism, board relationship with organizations formed for the school, grievance for staff, grievance for families, employee agreements, board residency, and board calendar. For finances, there are 6 policies that we've developed: budget approval, third-party contracts, access to funding and petty cash, audits, purchasing, federal funds and grants. And then lastly, the employee handbook. And there are several components that must be included. And all of those components were connected to another part of the RTO tasks, right? So we need to put in our instructional programming, operations, governance, finance policies that we have created already.
All right. So I need
Okay.
a motion.
Let me make a motion that might help to pull all of that together. So what I hear, I would make the motion to approve all of the items as presented, by Ms. Cateris that are necessary for the completions of the documents during the opening, whatever you want to say in there, with the understanding that those full documents will be presented to this board again no later than 30 days prior to the school opening. So we're approving it, saying you're on the right track, you're doing what you need to do, and what we hear is good. But all of those individual documents will be provided to this board no later than 30 days prior to, and that will give us the chance to see whether or not there's any additional questions or concerns or anything of that sort. Does that sound good to everybody? So at least it gets her to keep going, but she has to come back to this board with the full document saying, this is what you all approved earlier. Here they are. Here's everything all laid out. Any questions before we start opening up 30 days late? Sounds good. I know that that's kind of complicated, but but that's where we are. And it's important that the minutes are viewing it in that concept. We are approving the approach and the tentative items that have been presented to us. They're on the right track. Continue moving forward. Continue to submit your materials, but bring those things back to us no later than 30 days, because everything is dynamic and it will continue to actually change.
I will recognize that very complicated motion, and I will ask for a second.
I second it. As I understand it, is to continue to work on the action items needed to complete that, knowing that everything will be completed 30 days prior to our doors opening. Correct, Dr. Bryant?
Yes, that is correct. That is correct, basically. And the minutes will list those things, saying that, this was, the motion was made for these items to be approved.
Yeah.
This was done with the understanding that the full documents will be presented to the board again no later than 30 days prior to. That's it.
In that case, I second it.
All right, so it's been motioned and it's been seconded. We needed to vote. So I vote yes, I approve.
Yay, I approve as well.
Yay, I approve as well.
Yes, I approve.
I approve. All approve.
All right. So we have approved our RTO task list and give you the full power and authority of our board to move forward with your work as our fearless leader and founder.
All those TBAs. And you remember you said that, remember you said that they said that you could, things that you don't have, you could actually put TBA on it. Yeah, this covers all of that. So you can do whatever you need to submit what you have to, But hopefully by the time we get to the opening, you'll be able to bring it back and the TBAs will turn into something different or something like that.
All right. We do not need, if my understanding of Robert's rules is correct, we do not need a motion to adjourn. I simply want to speak on our next step and let you know that the agenda for the December board meeting will be posted to social media at least 2 weeks before meeting, as well to our website, or 1 week. I correct myself. It will be posted at least 1 week with a link there available for parents to participate and whoever in the community is interested. Our next meeting will be in person. The location will be determined and announced prior to that next board meeting. It will also be again available on our website. All right.
Yep, and yes, you do make a motion to adjourn. You have to
You
do
want
that.
me to make a motion to
You have
adjourn?
to. You got to open it and close it correctly. You know, you have to open it and close it correctly.
All right. Well, I will then make a motion to adjourn the November meeting of the Revitalized Charter School.
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Yay.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Yay. I made the motion, so I guess I have to vote. It has been motion second and unanimously approved. We will adjourn our board member meeting this month. Thank you all for participating. And thank you. It's been a very community and collaborative event. I appreciate everyone's support. And I think we're going to work well together. Look, all smiles. We all feel revitalized.